Hi, and welcome to my first blog here. I'm still unsure what we're going to call it. So right now it's just going to be a video blog based on my writing process and social issues, parenting issues, marital issues, whatever issues, we could talk about anything, all the way down to movies. I'm a huge fan of Marvel movies. I'm very excited for this new Ant-Man movie that just came out. Definitely can't wait to see that. I've read some of the critic reviews, and I've actually read a lot of fan reviews. I find it kind of weird how they're split, because from what I'm hearing it from a lot of people that are very crucial to movies such as Ant-Man and Thor and all that kind of stuff. They have real glaring great reviews for Ant-Man, but whatever critics at Rotten Tomatoes are saying that it's not good. So I can't wait to see it myself. That being said, let's just dive in. It's a lot to cover on this first blog. And like I said, who knows how this thing's going to go, where it's going to grow, where it's going to lead to. But it's a lot of juicy stuff, so just hold on tight. So first things first, I want to talk about the past. In the past, my very first book, The Wake, that was published back in 2018. It came out under Cheryl Barton Publishing. I can't say enough great things about Cheryl and the things I've learned from her in the writing process. I can say that there are things I wish I would have learned that I could have done, and things that I would have known that I could have done or could have kind of pushed back on in the past with that process. But I was very new into it, and I really didn't know where I was going to go. I was a very new author. I knew it was a direction for a long period of time that I wanted to go as far as writing. Even back when I was doing work with Arsenal Records, I was writing then. Back when Alan Stone and I first met, it was up at Coppin. At the time, I was a journalist major before I changed it to history. And I always was a great writer, even back in high school. Like, a lot of my music was written story-wise. I think that's why I like listening to a lot of Nas's music. It's because of his story writing ability. If you ever get a chance to listen to the song Get Down by him, it was on the Godson album, and you understand what I mean. Like, just storytelling ability of Nas was just amazing, and it's very motivating. That being said, I wanted to go in somewhat of a different direction. Not that anything was wrong with what I did with Cheryl, but I wanted to go a different direction because I was finding myself becoming more of a professional writer instead of just a person who put a book out. And there was this series that I'm working on now that I was putting together back in 2018. And there was a couple doors I wanted to have open that I didn't even know I could open at the time, because I didn't realize what I had at my fingertips. So when it came time to start putting things together for The Void and The Legacy, because what I did with this series was I started writing working on two books at a time. So The Void and The Legacy, I worked on together. The Legacy's done, it's just waiting to come out this coming May. And I'm working on The Union and The Transition at the same time right now. But anyway, when I started working on The Void and The Legacy, I was doing a lot of work back and forth with an editor, Karen Rogers, who's done a phenomenal job with my work, making sure she really finds my voice and really builds my voice out, my writer's voice, and really builds that out and really allows me to really build on the Tiffany Gibbons character and the Hakeem Andrews character. So going over the Lift Bridge was a great idea, just for the direction I wanted to go and things I wanted to do. And that leads into the plan going into The Void. So Devin Walker, real good friend of mine ever since high school. I did some work with him on some documentaries that he's working on, also with his podcast, The Walker Experience. And we tried to, in the past, pitch doing a screenplay for The Wake. And we was able to sit down with a studio with Netflix to do a pitch screenplay for the Wake, and we didn't come away with what we really wanted at that time. But we're not giving up, because we knew what was coming down the pipe with the Void and what I was doing with the Void, and I was able to brainstorm a lot with what I was doing with the Legacy. And so it wasn't like, all right, we're scrapping it. It's more like, we have more that we could put on the table. Let's just give it time, because I have a plan on how to really market this thing. So when I was in the process of publishing the Wake, I went to Devin, we looked at the book, and we wanted to pick something out early in the book. Like, all right, we don't want to give too much away, but let's figure out how can we market this. Let's just market something directly off the page on the screen, and let's try to shoot that into a trailer and go from there. And we did. And I purchased some ad space, and next thing you know, it was blowing up. Problem was issues around distribution. And I didn't realize what the problem was with the distribution at the time was until we tried to book places for this East Coast tour that we're doing for the Void. And this is going to be a pretty cool East Coast tour with several cities involved, starting in Massachusetts and making our way all the way down to Georgia. And one of the problems that we have run into was the distribution piece, and that led to a pretty hard fork in the road with me having to leave Liftbridge Publishing and having to figure some things out, because Liftbridge is doing a great job. It has done a great job with my work, but I had to unpublish my book through them recently in order for me to be able to be in a lot of venues up and down the East Coast. And soon we're going to be working on West Coast and Midwest places for booking, right? So just come into a place of, all right, well, what is this going to look like? So it was already a plan. At some point in time, my wife and I was thinking about working on our own publishing company and being in a place to help other authors. And by authors, I don't mean people that want to just put out a book and just say, oh, I'm an author, but like people that look at it like, this is my profession. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put out multiple books. I'm going to put out pieces of literature. This is art, and I'm going to build on this art form. You know, I'm going to add to this art. So with that being said, we had to remove the Void from Liftbridge. Nothing but love for Ashley Graham and her husband and all the great people over at Liftbridge. I've been able to learn a lot from them, but sadly we had to make a move, and we're republishing the book underneath our banner, Bold Print Publishing, which is our official publishing company, Bold Print Publishing LLC. And for those watching the video, that's my daughter in the background, my youngest. Her birthday was Valentine's Day, and she's down here and she's making a guest appearance, and she wants to turn this on. Here you go. Bye-bye. So I take it my daughter is now part of this blog. Sorry. Actually, I'm sorry. It's my daughter. And, you know, this whole thing is all about a legacy that I'm leaving behind for my kids, right? So if she chooses to become a writer and stuff, I want her to be able to see, you know, this process and learn as much as she can, and she could grow this business in ways that you and I could never dream, you know? So I'm glad she's down here to be a part of this. But getting back to the move, it switched over from Liftbridge to Bold Print. So officially The Void will be, or is, the first book that's published underneath Bold Print. And we're making the final transitions now, getting everything off of Liftbridge and onto Bold Print. And I'm so glad to introduce it to you. We have some goals here at Bold Print. One, we want to help sell a lot of units to people that want to sell units, right? We want to use a lot of innovative strategies using social media and advertisements and other terms to reach new audiences, not just, you know, people who you may know or friends, but like reaching like a broader audience that you never could think to reach, but like really be innovative about it. Touring also, like, so this East Coast tours, it's a great opportunity for us to open doors and meet new people up and down the East Coast, and of course move this medium, because while this tour starts officially in March, for The Void, The Wake is out, and The Legacy will be out while I'm on tour, which is amazing, right? So I'll be pushing that as well, which is outstanding. And I definitely didn't want to rush that process of it. Right now is going out for critiques, and I'm getting some real great feedback from The Legacy, which I knew I was extremely excited for this Legacy book to come out, just because you hit a groove when you start writing and you don't want to stop. And with where I was able to go with Tiffany's character, it's just amazing, especially as you see towards the end, the last 5-6 chapters of The Void. You start to see the growth in Tiffany, and you start to see the direction that Tiffany's characters go, and you just really see that just take off at a new height when you see what's really at stake in The Legacy, right? But getting back to Bold Print, touring is a big piece. We want to help authors that want to become professionals into making this into a reality. I think back in 2018, I had a publicist by the name of Sherry Wood, and Sherry Wood had a real deep conversation with me, right? I had my first book out, The Wake. I tried to go at things from an artistic point of view, and I was very new in the game, and I could have just wrote a straight A to B story, right? And I wanted to do this whole different eclectic, each chapter is his own story, but all the chapters blend at some point in time, and you're playing with timelines, stuff like that. And Sherry was like, hey, look, it's your first book, and let's just be honest, you're not an author yet. You have published a book, you're a published author, but you're not actually an author/artist in this game until you have other books underneath your belt and you really bring something to this medium, right? And I didn't get at the time. And now, where this is now my profession and this is what I do, and I'm on book number 4 right now that I'm writing, /5, because I'm working on The Legacy and I'm working on the Union. So I'm working on the Union and I'm working on the transition at the same time. And while doing that, I'm also working on this other book, which is kind of like a book that dives deeper into the antagonist of The Void. And I'm working on this story, and I'm having fun writing these stories. And I was talking to a real good friend of mine, Odessa Rose, award-winning author, bestseller, and also movie writer, has a movie inspired by one of her works, Lady in the Broken Glass, I should say. And Odessa and I had a real good conversation just about the whole creative process, and this becoming just really our place of employment. This is our job, this is our profession, and learning and building on the art. I remember doing an interview, a Q&A interview back in my apologies, back in November or December, when I was doing some early promotion on The Void, and I was talking about writing the antagonist of Marshawn Bell and the differences. And I was also talking about people adding into my perception. And Dave Chappelle used the term in one of his stand-ups called taking a class. And when I read now, I don't read. I read for multiple reasons. I read because I like literature. I like reading, understanding different people's writing styles. I like learning a lot of different things, but I also want to pick up how can I become a better author from other people's literature. So I am a huge fan of Cheryl Barton, who was my publisher. So I like reading her writing style because I could pick up different pieces. I mentioned E.J. Windstorm before. I love her work with Mud and Tides, and how she's able to really capture certain beats with woman-led protagonists, and how she can capture that in a first-person point of view. And now working with Odessa Rose and reading her newest book that came out. I've been deep diving into that. I'm enjoying it a lot. Kismick's Journey, and just picking up a lot from that. And of course, I'm a huge comic book fan, so there's always that. But a lot of those books really help me build out a lot of what I'm looking for and where I want to grow as a writer. And I want to make sure that people that do work with me and work with us here at Bold Print, they're able to become their best self. And where do they want to go? If you're looking to just put out a book and just that's it, and that's all that you're looking for, we could talk. But if you're looking like, this is my profession, this is what I want to do, this is the art form that I want to add to, this is what I want to grow, this is what I want to learn from, those type people that we really want to work with in Bold Print. And we really want them to become their best selves, because I don't want mediocre writers, and I don't want to produce mediocre writers. I want writers that want to reach a zenith. I want to help writers reach a zenith, because that's where I'm headed, And how the story of the Wake grew. That's the whole point of what's going on now. Is there was the story of the Wake, which I wrote, and it was good, and then I wanted to grow into something more. So it grew into The Void and The Legacy. It grew into characters like Marshawn Bell, writing a complex character who is a crooked police officer / detective, who has a mother who's terminally ill with cancer, who's a retired school teacher and receiving Medicaid / Medicare, and it doesn't cover her bills. So the antagonist is using illegal, crooked financial means, such as breaking into or raiding homes of other rival gang members, taking the drugs, selling it to another gang for money, and using those funds to pay for drugs. Using those funds to pay for his mother's needs. Tiffany Gibbons, first-time homeowner, inherited a home from her grandmother, trying to keep her family safe by any means necessary. Meanwhile, there's tons of gangs and everything in her community, and she's trying her best to survive while dealing with her own mental illness. She hears voices, she sees things, she's grieving from the horrible things that her father did and the family secrets that she's had growing up, and now she's on her own, aside from her kids, and really finding herself, right? Gina Sims, Tiffany Gibbons' aunt and last really surviving family member aside from Tiffany's kids. And Gina, who has become clean in the wake, she was in her addiction and starting her recovery, and now you start to see Gina really grow in her recovery. Sasha Gibbons, who was a very, very minor character in the wake. Her son Tyrone Clinton was murdered by a police officer during a Bardstown robbery, and how Sasha's coming to terms with it, and how she's basically trying to become her best self, or really just existing. Like, Sasha went from a character who was going to school for nursing in the wake and really just trying to provide a lifestyle for her son the best way she knew how, with what she had in her hands. And then her son is murdered, and now she's trying to find her place. And sadly, she's developed a drinking addiction to cope with her grief from her son. And then we look at the legacy, right? We just continue the story onto the legacy. And I really can't say too much without spoiling it. I'm just excited, especially for all those that have read The Wake and all the great reviews and everything I'm getting from there. I just can't wait for everybody to read the legacy to see where that story goes, because just how things end perfectly in The Wake, especially with certain characters that are introduced, and how it rolls perfectly into the legacy. Things were not done by happenstance or rushed at all. It happened just as it should have happened. It will be out this coming May of 2023 on Bold Print. It's actually waiting now to be published. I do have some people about to complete some critiques to send them back in. I'm currently writing the Union and the Transition side by side. I am completely happy with where I'm going at with the Union, or where I'm at with the Union. I am beyond ecstatic, actually, with where that's going, because that's a story all by itself. And the Union originally was supposed to have been the last book in the series, and there's no way I could have closed out this Tiffany Gibbons saga with just the Union, with what it is, just because there's so many things to unpack. There's Hakeem's family to really unpack, and there's a lot more with Titan Industries. Of course, if you remember from the Wake, there was Titan Industries in there. Titan Industries is basically the company that's trying to take over Ridgely Square and knock down all the previous homes and churches and businesses and companies, and they want to build it into something different while moving out all the people in the community. And as right now you're seeing the negative in the void. In the legacy, there's going to be a little bit more into it's going to push a little bit more into why Tiffany would stand against it. And then you're going to get to a very weird crossroad that's perfectly set up by the end of the legacy that goes straight into the Union. That much I can give without giving away too much of the story. But there are some things that lean in real life that happens in all 4 books. And I really can't wait for you to see them. Again, I'm glad to announce bold print publishing is a thing. I do want to say the Wake is out now. Well, it has been out since 2018. It's on all major platforms. Please feel free to get it, except for audiobook. The audiobook, I am going to start re-recording to put that out. The Void, we're working on the audiobook now. Ramona Rideout is helping me with that. For those that don't know, Ramona Rideout was one of the actors from We Run the City that's currently on HBO Max. And she's helping with the recording of that. And The Void is currently being pulled off of all platforms for distribution reasons under Liftbridge, and it is going under Bold Print. The logo for Bold Print is right here behind me. And it'll be back up shortly. I guess I'll be putting out a new blog to let you know when it's up and official for everything that's on Bold Print. I do have paper copies of The Wake right now. So if you do want a copy, please feel free to hit me up. All forms of social media, Facebook, Instagram, anything you can think of, I will send. There's a small shipping and handling fee with it. The book itself is $20. And honestly, I'll send you an autographed copy. I'm just appreciative for every bit of support. Please get your copy of The Void. And please feel free to hit me up. I'm at Berkeley For Us on all forms of social media. Dr. Kyle Berkeley on Facebook. And that's it. Oh, check out Kyle S. Berkeley for more information. I'm going to try to figure out how to get this ongoing blog actually onto the website as well. And I will be having tour dates announced soon. Again, we're kicking off this tour in Chicopee, Massachusetts at the Good Works Coffee Shop next month in March. And I will be rolling out all the dates for the East Coast tour. And I think a lot of people are going to be happy when they find out all the places that are done. Again, I want to give a special thanks to Liftbridge Publishing, Ashley Graham, for all of the great work that she's done. I want to give a huge thank you to Cheryl Barton for all the work that she's done. Karen Rogers, K&T, for their work with this whole process with getting everything formatted from one platform to the other. My beautiful wife, Rebecca, my wonderful kids, Savannah, Sage, and Shiloh, my sister, Carissa, mom, Rebecca, Betty, and to everybody, anybody that has contributed to this whole process. Just be on the lookout because there's some real great things coming through Bold Print very shortly. and we're in the talks of with some pretty cool upcoming authors that I think everybody's going to be really happy about, because there are multiple genres that we're about to cross into, and there's no turning back. There's no stopping us. We are not on the boat, we're walking on water. Okay, this is bold print. This isn't like small time. We're doing things in a way bigger way, way bigger than you can imagine right now. And I'm so glad to have people aboard for this ride to see what's going on. This is a true blessing to be where we're at, and glad you're here for the ride. Have a good one. Peace.
Things hasn't been the same since the death of my grandmother, Florence Sims, and the community leader, Pastor Donald Avery. A group of police officers called the Narcotics and Firearms Task Force, led by Detective Sergeant Marshawn Bell, are working with a local gang called the Alphas, led by a guy named Milt. The Alphas are involved in drugs and sex trafficking, and thanks to Sergeant Bell, they are above the law.